You know how the cameras caught us sometimes fast, right?
Can't be picking our nose.
That's right.
Coffee anywhere. Oh, we did have a caller on one.
Trisha.
Hey, this is Stevensburg.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Stephen.
Hey,
Okay.
I did get my first COVID vaccine Friday,
One second.
February the 5th, I think.
Do what?
I thought that was Joe's fault.
Well, we're gonna all eventually have to do it, though. That was really.
There's Leanne. Morning. Everybody missed it.
My aunt took my uncle, he took it, but she didn't.
Joe, I've already given you one.
So I don't know. I don't know to take it, but I'm not scared.
All right, I'm gonna gavel us in. Having this gavel here is pretty cool. We'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Tyler County Commissioners Court to order. Let the record reflect that this meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, and a quorum is present. With that being said, it is practice this court to exercise an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And today, I guess we'll limit it to just the American flag unless there's a request from the body to do both flags. As we know, we're going to a single meeting per month versus two. With that being said, if there's anyone online or present that's offended by our practice, you're welcome to step away from the audio or possibly the hearing within the court and then rejoin us after we come back in for our rest of our agenda. With that being said, Joe, I think you're taking charge of that, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Okay. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with thankful hearts, thankful for another day of life and your mercies and the availability of your mercies. Lord, our nation needs healing right now, and you're the one that can do that. Our county needs healing. Our state needs healing. Lord, heal all these things for us, Lord. Help us to be united in the purpose that we're placed here. Help all the decisions that we make be approved by you and guide us in those decisions, Lord, and help it to be beneficial for the taxpayers and the people in our county and our state and our country. We thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
yeah,
Salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for that heartfelt prayer. And our prayers go out to your family and the loss of your grandparents. So, okay, with that being, Madam Clerk, have anybody sign up to do public comment this morning? Okay, with that being accomplished, we're going to go into our consent portion of the agenda, and we do have minutes. I believe we do. When I printed it out, I got the wrong set of minutes, and I realized it when I was looking at it. I don't think I did the prayer last. So, are there minutes, or did I just?
We did have
the wrong set. Okay.
We have December 14th, December 29th, and October 13th.
October 13th. Good. Okay. I didn't get those. So if somebody who has looked over those want to make a proposal that we receive them into the records, I'll await that motion.
Make a motion we receive Minutes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Mike.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Buck. Is there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Okay, and it is unanimous. Thank you. That'll take us to our monthly reports. In your packet, you will see that there were the probation, both adult and juvenile, district and county clerk, extension, auditor, treasurer, and JP1. With that being said, is there a motion to receive those under the consent agenda as reports, or is there a request to set any of them aside for discussion?
I'll make a motion that we receive the reports.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion with second, and any comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Any opposed? And their motion is unanimous. That takes us to the consider, approve, and informational section of the budget. And item A is the budget amendment and line item transfers. Jackie?
We don't have any right yet, but we will next time.
Okay, very good. Since you've taken over the agenda, if you don't mind putting my name back on that slot, probably just an oversight, but just so we can have a member of the court be a part of that. That takes us to item B, and that's the account payable and county bills. Mike, you have that for the court?
Yeah, Jackie's everything.
I had emailed you the two bills that were above and beyond what we usually pay. One was the renovation to N&T Construction, and the other one was for the roofing for Marsh Waterproofing.
I'll make a motion, we approve the budget amendment line item, or accounts payable, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion with second. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. And it is unanimous. Thank you. That takes us to item C, and that's Dr. Denson as the local health authority. And when we started into our COVID project last March, we realized that we didn't have a designated local public health authority. We're under the Jasper Newton Sabine County Health, but for this particular disaster, we needed a local person, and it has to be an MD. And so in the process of going through all of this, Ken and I had talked about approaching Dr. Denson. We then in turn looked under the appropriate account. I think it was Fund 42, or let's see if I got it in front of me. I don't have it in front of me. But we realized that there was money that was in a line item that could be appropriate for that particular task. And we didn't know how long that we would be looking at that, but we figured that would hopefully get us through the end of the year at $1,000 per month. They're responsible for all of the citizens of the county and their tracking, and it's gotten to be a rather extensive type of task. She was agreeable to that. She understood that, that was an additional burden on top, and probably has put in maybe more than what that is. So that's where we are today. Ken, I want to tee it up, but then I will defer to you for any additional comments.
There's not really, there's a little explanation of some of the stuff she's done. And one thing I just thought about sitting back here, she actually signed a document for Judge Walker to approve our court. So she has done, she calls most patients. I probably talk to her once a week, if not more, based on what's going on. And I've called her, and she's treated patients over the phone when they get sick. Again, with COVID, not all this is COVID-based stuff. So anyway, I can answer a question if you have any.
It was well within the budget, and it was within that particular line item, and we knew that that was what we could work from. So I'll put it in the form of a motion for paying of that. You'll see in your packet that she did submit to us a statement. We knew that we would have to have that, and it was just referencing the $1,000 per month fee that we didn't know how long it was going to last, but it got us through the end of the year.
When does it start? Good?
It started in March, but we actually did April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November.
I'm sorry, Brenda.
Go ahead.
I don't know if they're in the packet, but I did add the minutes and the agenda item where we approved her to be our local health.
I remember. I don't remember what it was. I second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. There is a motion and second. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, that takes us to item D, and Buck, I believe that's your item.
Yes, the disposition of the surplus county property, 2021 via online auction. Are we-
Yeah, so that, because there's some things that didn't sell, and there's some other things in different offices that people are wanting to get rid of, so that's why I put it on here, to be able to do it for this year.
Extend it, is that what we're doing there? Yeah, I think I only have one item left down there, but I believe we've offered it to the second bidder, so. Anyway, that's all to just extend it to get rid of this other stuff, so I'd like to put that in form of a motion.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. There is a second. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Stirk has the next two items, and that's item E.
Yes, sir, in form of motion, we need to appoint county judge pro tem for commissioners court.
Okay, do we have a recommendation?
I would recommend, did we get a second? I lost it, but I recommend Mike Marshall.
Okay,
Well, I'll second it.
okay, so we do have a motion with a second, and you had attached Mike Marshall for that particular position. So we have the motion second with the, I guess, attachment. Is there a comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Okay,
Aye.
and that passes unanimously. Okay, item F.
Yes, appoint the county judge pro tem, which is Commissioner Marshall, as alternative signatory authority for commissioners court to expedite county documents, including but not limited to grants and contracts, and that's brought in the form of a motion.
Okay, so we do have a motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you. We do have a motion with second. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye. And it is unanimous. I've got the next, looks like three, and I'll start with item G. And that's the reappointment of Larry Tress to the Appraisal Review Board. He called me several months ago and just said that it was time for him. He's willing to serve again. I think, Mike, you're still on the appraisal board, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. And I think Lynette is as well. Martin used to be
Right.
representing
Warren
Warren.
School.
Okay. So I'll bring that in the form of a motion, having spoken with him for the reappointment to that appraisal review board.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. And do need to send them a confirmation with a copy of our minutes, just so that they will have that for their record. All right,
They
it takes us,
usually have they used to have a little letter and you fill in the name.
I haven't seen that. Okay, item H is transfer oversight of nutrition center from precinct 1 to me and courthouse from me to Stephen. This has created quite a bit of stir, I think, among us. The thought was we had a vacancy with Martin's leaving, and with me being down at the nutrition center and the alternate or the associate court member, I was going to offer to assist that. Joe's got two facilities if it is kept like that. And then I've seen a copy of the proposal that retains the structure as it was. So with that being said, it is an item for consideration. And if it's a pleasure of the court, it can be approval or it can just be informational. So with that being said, since I teed it up, I'll go ahead and put it in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
So is it both of them together? Is it one deal?
Well, because I'm not at the courthouse anymore and Stephen is over that project, it just makes sense for him to be the point of contact in behalf of the court. I'm kind of out of the loop, but if I can help, I'm more than willing to. Down at the nutrition center, I'm the alternate to that particular facility as it is right now. So that's the background story on that. Okay, so apparently the motion dies from lack of a second. That takes us to item I, and that's the reappointment of Charles Zimmerman to the Southeast Texas Groundwater Conservation District for another term. I did receive, as you saw in the packet, the letter from John Martin stating that his term was up for renewal. I did speak to Charles. He is willing to serve. I think it's another 3 years. With that being said, I'll put that in the form of a motion, and hopefully there'll be a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Is there comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Thank you, and it is unanimous. Buck, I think you got the next, looks like 5 items. We'll start with item J.
Yeah, I got it. Item J, it says is review that, just for informational purposes only, the FMLA pay COVID leave. I think as this keeps going on and on, it becomes more gray and grayer as, you know, I don't know what the government part at the national level is up to, but I think Leanne just wants to give us some insight on as far as paying our county employees when it's involving COVID.
Right. Our policy has stated, and we adopted the policy, and we had really no choice, but the president came out with an order that we must pay FMLA if it's COVID related for any absences for either full-time or part-time employees. That order expired December the 31st. And so the county at this point is, for lack of a better word, off that hook, I guess. It goes back to our policy, our county policy, which simply says it's at the discretion of the official as to what works for their department. Like I said, FMLA paid COVID related is expired. I would recommend, obviously no vote, but I would recommend that we not make any action or do anything to change the way it's been going until February the 1st. Since we got notified in the middle of after the expiration date that it was not going to be renewed. That's just kind of what I think, give our employees a time to understand what is about to happen.
So it's not gonna be renewed as far as,
Well, the administration is on the way out, so I don't anticipate the new administration adopting anything from the previous one. You know, I don't think they're BFFs, and so, I don't, in everything that I've read, everything that's come across has said that they do not expect it to be, extended.
well, you know, I'm myself, and I'm sure Mike, Joe, we're dealing with situations right now. I mean, I had one last week. You know,
So what would happen, Buck, is that they would be required to utilize, or take their accrued time, their sick time or vacation time.
As of December 31st.
As of December 31st, if that's what your department, I can't tell another official what to do. I would just say that it is up to the official, but I would definitely recommend not making any rash changes right now until probably February 1st, give everybody a time to adjust. But we would revert back to our county policy, which is in the policy book, that just simply says that any illness over 3 days requires FMLA, which requires a doctor's excuse, and then they would have to use their own time.
so, let me make sure I understand this correctly, because I had one last week that they were exposed, they tested on Monday, his wife and himself, and they got their test back Wednesday, and they're negative, but yet he missed 3 days of work. So, I just came from the secretary down there who was turning flips over how she was gonna code this. And so is he gonna end up taking 3 sick? I mean, I know you said it's up to me, but there's no other way to pay him other than taking
I think
sick
that,
leave.
because I'm bringing information in order for it to be any other way, it would have to be a motion before the court at either a special call meeting or another meeting to change that procedure, which could very well happen. I mean, I'm not
So
opposed
the
to.
FMLA will not pick it up, is that what you're saying?
FMLA is in place,
It's in place.
so we are out of the order from the president to pay
To pay,
like they were here, yes.
like that. Wow. So that's pretty serious.
It is.
Somebody gets quarantined for 14 days, that's gonna eat their sick time up in a hurry.
Yes, sir.
There's not a requirement for them to quarantine for 14 days. Just, if our policy says if they miss more than 2 days, because of an illness, not because of vacation or time off, but you can require them to give you a physician's, release, if they were sick and that they can't come back to work. So, whatever the physician tells them to do is what they need to follow, what we need to follow. The 14 days, is under the CDC recommendation on certain times. You can have that reduced, but that's up to the department head if they follow that CDC guideline. It's not required of our policy to follow that CDC guideline.
I thought we did. I thought
I
we
don't-
adopted the CDC guidelines.
I can't see bringing somebody back to work and making everybody sick.
What we did say was it was up to
That-
the
that's-
official to follow CDC guidelines for the department. That's what we did say.
It's not required to follow the CDC guidelines, but there's very few times where they have to be off for 14 days. There's some reductions in there that you can do if they meet the certain criteria. But still, if they're gone for more than 2 days on sick time after December 31st, after the president's order expired, then we would revert back to our current policy of you're going to need a physician's release and a physician's excuse that you were out sick.
And that's taken care of in FMLA paperwork. So if they'll just take that to the doctor, it'll tell them, doctor signs off, says that's what it was, says when they were released to go back to work, it's all taken care of in that. So it's not like we're having to ask for anything that the doctor's not accustomed to. And I've had plenty of physician's office call for that verification, vaccination and such. So like I said, I would think that we would, as a county, wait until February 1st.
So they don't have to do FMLA until they run out of time. As long as they have time on the books, correct?
FMLA starts,
Anytime, even
well,
if they
after
have,
the third day. After the third day. Which
even if they
protects
have
their,
time on the
yes, sir.
books.
It runs concurrently. It's to protect their job and, make sure that we hire them back at the same, whatever, Department of Labor regulations and such. But technically, they're supposed to, the supervisor is supposed to notify HR the third day, and then we're supposed to send the paperwork to them. They're supposed to have it taken care of and then get it back to them.
And I think everybody wants to take care of their employees, but there's also big potential for abuse, and that's,
And I think
That's
we're
my
probably
concern.
kind of dealing with some of that. That's my concern.
I do think that we have a little bit of leeway, because, like I said, we weren't notified by the Department of Labor until after the expiration. There was no intention to extend. So I think that my opinion is that we need to let our folks know that before we cut the cord.
Any other comments? It's under the informational purposes only.
Right.
Anything else? Mike, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Buck, you want to continue with that? Okay?
Yes, item K is to approve Mike Marshall, Commissioner Precinct 3, to fill the open commissioner spot on the Tyler County Investment Committee. I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Joe. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye? Okay, it is unanimous. Buck?
Item L
Yeah.
is to approve the investment committee's recommendation for 2021 investment plan. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I would. We met briefly last Friday. We did not adopt a new policy. or a new proposal, I'm sorry, the policy stands as it is. I always like to, as a courtesy to the court, to bring, what, I feel like should be our projection for 2021 or the new year. We decided to hold off on that until Mike took his seat on the board. It doesn't stop our investments, it just keeps us under the same plan as, 2020, which is a conservative plan. But again, I'll just do that as a courtesy, so we don't have anything to, accept today.
So that.
Lynn, don't we want to go ahead and approve and acknowledge that Mike comes onto the
I
committee?
thought we did.
But the
No.
investment policy needs to be approved. It has to be approved every year.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't prepared for the policy, I was just prepared for the plan. So,
Okay, yours said plan, I'm sorry, that's my fault.
I will, bring that at the next, commissioners meeting. I
Might
apologize.
not be a bad idea just for us to go ahead and post another meeting. And now that we've got Mike approved and give you a chance to go ahead and get this expedited.
Well, I felt like that after this, after Mike was set on the, committee, that we would have another investment committee, and then based on that, we would have another commissioners meeting. So, that's kind of my thought.
That would be good. All right, so
That's just informational then,
I guess we're not gonna take any
There'll
action
be
right
no
now.
action today, though.
no action.
All right, takes us to item M.
Okay, item M is to accept the increase of pay to $40,482.52 from $35,007 to the budgeted amount for emergency management coordinator Ken Job. I'd like to put that in form of a motion.
Okay, there's a motion.
I second.
Thank you, Mike. Comments or questions?
I do have some questions.
Okay.
I need to know, from the court, is this considered a part-time or a full-time position? The position that he had before was what I understood as a stipend, so he wasn't, like it was set, there, no increase, no changes, no anything. How's that gonna affect him? I mean, is he gonna, he's not exempt on this particular side because he's a first responder, but he is exempt on the other side because he's an elected official. Is he gonna have to turn in a timesheet? Is he gonna have to, I'm really confused at the process of how we're going to, first of all, keep separately what we're doing, and then, make sure that he's been taken care of, make sure his position has been taken care of, and then also be compliant with the Department of Labor. I need to know what direction to go.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
He is full-time. He is never not on call. He's always the emergency management coordinator, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He always reports to me. He tells me if he's going out of town and if he's going to be out of town for an extended period of time. He's technically he's literally full-time. And so, in answer to your question, he becomes full-time. How you structure that as far as his being on a clock and so forth, I mean, I don't know how to speak to that. I mean, he's
Well-
always it.
If he's not exempt, he has to turn in time.
Exactly.
If he doesn't qualify as being exempt, I don't think.
He does not because he's a first responder. I need to know, because if we're raising his salary to 40,000 whatever, and he's not exempt in this particular capacity, then he would have to be he could be salary hourly, but then are we gonna pay overtime? Are we gonna, I mean, because he's eligible for overtime in this capacity.
Lynn, do you need a timesheet every bi-weekly? Would that take care of it all if he turned in his timesheet?
Yes and no, Stephen, because, if he works, Jock said he works, 24/7, if he works, overtime, I'm obligated to pay him because he's not an exempt employee. So yeah, I'm gonna need a timesheet, and I'm gonna need him to dictate or to put on the timesheet every hour that he worked, just like any other employee. But here's the other thing too. He's full-time, he's not exempt. Is he gonna accrue vacation time and sick time?
Why can't he be exempt?
First responder, DOL regulations.
He's a first responder.
Well, all law enforcement is first responders, but they're not exempt employees. They get overtime, the deputies do.
Exactly.
Law enforcement, the jail does. But they also turn in the time sheet all the way up to the elected official,
Exactly.
of their time that they work. So anytime that they work over, they get overtime. Now,
Right.
the exempt employee at the sheriff's office is only the chief deputy, which is not eligible for overtime, but he still turns a time sheet in, even though he's exempt because he's a full-time employee, and, so he still turns a time sheet in.
Well, this would classify Ken as a non-exempt employee on this one side. So we would have to pay him hourly. We would have to pay him overtime if he made over the 80 hours per week. And he would accrue time. He would accrue vacation time, sick time, the whole 9 yards. However, on the other side, he is an elected official, which does not
Accrue any of it.
accrue any of it. And I
Okay,
do not
so
have a
can
problem.
he sign a document stating that he acknowledges that he is a first responder, however, he waives his non-exempt status or exempt status, whatever it is, Ken is gonna do the job. And
That's
he's
not the
gonna do it, well, hear me out. He's gonna do the job. And if he has to turn in overtime because there's no other option, he will. He was doing this as a full-time position prior to him being elected. And so he accepted a stipend amount in order to appease what conversation that was existent at the time about a total combined income that would be in excess of certain elected officials. And so he was concessionary about that. But the truth is, he's really full-time, all the time. But for the fact that he works for the county, and he also is an official in the county. So this is kind of a unique type of situation versus his predecessor, who was a constable in a bivocational position, just like Ken's bivocational judge position is acknowledged by this county. And I really kind of probably owe him an apology because I set this up this way as opposed to him just keeping his full-time responsibility and his full-time job. But you never know when the emergency has to be managed. It's just like Hurricane Laura. I mean, he was down there the whole time in the midst of all of this COVID pandemic. I mean, we still did both things because that was what was needed to be done for the county. If he has to put time down, then obviously, I don't think we have any more line item for overtime left in that particular department. And so, we're gonna have to address it that way. But if he needs to put some time down, we just need to be prepared because he worked 57 straight days when we initiated the disaster declaration for COVID. And he did not claim the full extent of the hours, but I know good and well that he was putting in close to 12 hours per day for that first 57 days, because we were talking from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 and 8 o'clock at night, whenever he was still working. But he's just not that kind of guy. He wants to do the right thing, but.
And I respect that, and that is great, and I do not begrudge Ken of any of his pay or any of that. Has nothing to do actually with Ken. It has to do with the process that has to take place and to make sure that I'm doing my job correctly according to the Department of Labor. And I don't know that if he signed the waiver, I don't know if that would stand. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I don't know what to do, but it still doesn't tell me how to process his time that he will accrue, his hourly, if we're gonna do hourly, that he's gonna turn the time sheet in, or we're gonna pay the overtime. I need to know what to do.
So we
Okay.
can't have him on just salary, that he would make a certain amount and
It would be salary non-exempt, which would still, it'd be like our deputy clerks and such, their salary non-exempt, which means they still accrue their time, they still accrue, vacation sick, those kinds of things.
And so the elected official part, they don't work for that, right?
Two separate jobs.
That's how he can get paid for it, is because it's not his statutory job, he's elected to do.
so how did we do Dale? I mean, what was,
Dale just got a flat stipend amount. He had his regular
like we've been
constant,
doing with Ken?
And whenever Ken won the election, Jackie and I had some discussion about that and, how are we gonna address this? Because, he's been full-time, and so that was how the direction that we went with this particular thing. But the truth is, he lost his full-time job because he won an election. None of the others who have full-time jobs were penalized for their bivocational position. And the truth is, I gave him full permission to help out Tricia if she needed to be out and cover for the county because the other two guys may not be available. He was right here close. He was flexible to come in. And so he's responding to whatever the need is in the county, be it through a justice type of duty as an elected judge or in an emergency management. And I mean, he's working.
I think we all pretty much, I can't speak for everybody, but I think he's definitely, what he's having to do earns the money. We just need to figure out how to do it so Leanne will be covered.
If you divided the 40,000 by 12, even though we're bi-weekly, but it would be $3,373 a month if you wanted to do like you were talking the stipend still. The only thing is, if you do that, then he can't get paid for overtime, right? Because then he's considered exempt because it's just a flat rate.
Well, that's kind of what we want to do, right? Or is it?
I think so, Mike.
I thought that's what we did before we come up with this.
Well,
Or were we gonna give him a lump
We
pay?
did give him,
go ahead, Mike.
no, I'm sorry.
Well, when he turned in some extra hours, and that's where the problem came in, for the extra hours that he worked during the pandemic. But there was no other time sheet to show where he worked his 40 hours. So the same thing, if you're gonna pay it like that, then you're not gonna be able, you don't have a time record of him working his 40 hours a week. So it's gonna be hard to pay overtime. We don't have a record of the
Original.
required 40 hours to get overtime after the 40 hours.
But back to what Jackie was saying, we can do it and make him an exempt where he won't be
If
accruing.
he's agreeing to that much each month, and correct me if I'm wrong, he knows that's what he's gonna get paid regardless of what he does. So if we had another disaster and he works 57 days straight, he's
That's
not
all
gonna
he's
get
still gonna
overtime,
make.
he's only gonna get that.
It would come back to the stipend instead of the full-time.
Yeah.
Then you
salary
wouldn't have to
position.
worry about the vacation, sick, overtime. You would know a budgeted amount that you could pay.
What do you think, Judge? Is that, do we need to
I
table
don't
it?
think that
Talk
really
about it some
solves
more?
the issue.
Why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and put him back on in his full-time responsibility. And that will at least get it started for this month. We can modify it at a later time if we need to. I'll tell him to go ahead and start accounting for his
Regular
time.
time, yeah.
And then, this is unique.
It is.
This whole year, no one had any kind of clue as to the extent of the level of work and the level of responsibility and the expectation by so many, not only every official that he has helped and worked with, and every city that he's helped and worked with, and every school district that he has, I mean, he has put in some significant, and he was fine about it. I mean, you know, that's just how he is, you know? But if we set him up like that, that'll give us some time to process what Leanne's talking about, and then we can make whatever adjustments if we need to.
Well, if we set him up full-time and we do that, then he's starting to accrue time. So I need to know what to do with the time.
I don't know if I'm tracking with you exactly.
If he's a full-time salaried position
Okay,
in that capacity, he will start accruing vacation sick time.
Because it's not an elected position.
Correct.
well, if we're trying to solve this today, I would recommend that we just go ahead, Mike, and start him out as just resuming the status that he had previously. And if we can figure out any kind of it'll give me a chance to talk with him and say, hey, Jackie recommended, you know, just a flat amount each 12 months. You good with that? Or, you know, do we need to preserve this other side in the event that we have something that's this dramatic? Again, I hope, God forbid, you know, we do. But at least it'll give us a place to start, because we really didn't have any
Sure.
knowledge of
And please don't misunderstand me. I love Ken to pieces. He and I talked about this in a little bit. I think Ken deserves it. Ken's done a great job with the county. I just need to make sure that my stuff's right. It has nothing to do with Ken. It's not personal. I just need to make sure I'm doing my stuff right.
So that would be my request, Buck, is that we accept the pay increase. We acknowledge him as being an employee who is non-exempt. He'll turn in a timesheet, and we'll at least get it started, because you got to do payroll here pretty quick.
More.
And so that'll give us a starting point. We can always come back and make whatever adjustments to this other scenario if we do divide it by 12. So that would be my input, Buck, in regard to your
So we still got to decide what would happen with those, I mean, he's going accrue time, I guess.
And the risk is probably not the right term, but being the full-time salary position, accruing the time, we have to pay him the overtime.
It'd be the fallout.
Well, and then it becomes, if he's accruing sick and he gets sick and he uses that all, does that stop? Does the pay stop? That's the other thing you have to.
Jackie, I think we've got some questions we don't have answers for right now in this particular scenario. But if we go ahead and tee it up so that at least Leanne will have the opportunity to put it into her system to generate checks tomorrow and at least get us started. We can call around, find out how, you know, some of the other counties are doing it, or, you know.
Would it be better for us to go with the scenario like she's talking about for now, and then if we do something different, and that way it wouldn't interfere with the time accruing, he would get the pay raise, but it would be, you know, just a monthly checks, being broke up into 12 monthly checks, where he wouldn't be, where he wouldn't be.
26 pay.
And I'm gonna say that I'm in favor of that, because after speaking with TAC, Lori cautioned, with extreme caution, against Ken becoming an hourly employee, because he would lose his exempt status, or could possibly, you know, on the other side.
But if Ken would keep up with that time, if something like that were to happen, you know, and have it, I mean, we could come to court then and say, hey, we need to pay him for this overtime, even if he's not, you know, if he wasn't accruing time, I would think we could.
We had that same problem before.
If he signed, then he wouldn't be able
If it's a
to.
stipend.
Right, that was the problem it is now. There was no record of the other 40 hours. Not that he didn't work, there's just no record of his other 40 hours.
Again, I think that we were going on historical type of experiences of emergencies in this county during the 12 previous years prior to his status of becoming an elected official in addition to his full-time. And so we did the best we could at that time. We tried to do something before the end of the fiscal year last year to acknowledge the excessive amount that this required of him. So again, hopefully, this is not the norm, this is the exception.
I don't think anybody has a problem with him getting the full pay. We just need to figure out what the correct way is to report that pay to the federal government on how he's receiving that pay. I think everybody's in favor of him getting the whole amount that's budgeted for that position, because he is doing that position. We just need to figure out how we need to do the paperwork for the Department of Justice or who,
Department of Labor.
I want to see the Department.
yeah, Department of Labor, yeah.
We don't want to fool with them.
I worked too many years and, oh yeah, well, they're all over the place too.
Well, there's no question that Ken's worth, he's called, every time I've called him recently, he's always there, he's always been there, there's no question. I think we probably need to get everything, all the kinks worked out before, that's just my opinion, before we take a formal vote.
Well, we have to give a paycheck to.
Well, right now, he's under what he has been being
Yeah,
compensated for. And the thought was, since it's in the budget, just go ahead and establish his status.
Couldn't we always change that, Judge, if we do, like Mike was saying just a second ago, couldn't we change? Go back and make him a full-time employee once we get all our ducks in a row?
Payroll question.
If we do a stipend, we can always go back and pay the difference, because the stipend is per month. We can always,
But Leanne, wasn't that the holdup that when Mike brought it the two previous times, is that wasn't sure that we could go back and do that?
well, we're talking about a stipend that is a straight across the board fee minus, or the difference of a timesheet that we've not put down any kind of time, we've not put anything other than my 80 hours and I'm done, that we've all signed and sorted, that's all he worked to. That was the problem that I had with the 192 hours, or 50, whatever it was, for the overtime. After speaking with TAC, and you go back, well, you can't go back to March, April, May, June, because an official signed off and said that was the correct time sheet. So now we're going back and saying it wasn't the correct time sheet, so what happened? I have to prove that he worked the overtime. If it's a stipend, then I'm not proving that he worked anything, I'm just agreeing to give him whatever it is. And it's per month, just broken out into pay periods. To me, there's a big difference in the two of those.
The stipend is the safest way, but you have to understand, you can't get paid overtime. Then that eliminates the accruing time, having to keep up with the time sheet and all that. But he can't be paid overtime if he's getting a stipend. If he's hourly, he can. So that's what you need to decide.
would the amount of overtime that he was claiming, turning in for this past year, would it have equaled out about 5,000, or would it?
It would have been about 8,000, a little over 8,000.
And it is a COVID year, so that's probably inflated.
Oh, yeah. I know, I've thought about, in the past, I'm not saying there's never something for the emergency management coordinator to do, but it wasn't nearly as busy as it was this past year. But, I don't, like I said, he had to put in a lot of extra time on it. Well, I definitely want to try to do something to go ahead and get it started, but, I would feel like the stipend would probably be the safest way to do it for now.
To get it started and then come back and revisit it.
Would you put that in the form of an amendment to Buck's motion?
Yes, I'd make an amendment that we approve an increase to
The full budgeted
full
amount?
budgeted amount as a stipend,
In the form of a stipend.
that he would not be able to accrue overtime.
For sick leave or vacation.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have an amendment to the motion that the full budgeted amount would be adjusted from what his pay has been to the full budgeted amount, but his stipend status would remain as it has been. All in favor, aye? Okay. We've voted on the amendment. Now let's go back to the original motion, Buck. Your motion is on the table. There is a second on it. So with the amendment added to that, all in favor, aye? Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item N.
Item N is to accept the resignation of Karen Hatton on the local workforce development board effective 1/1/21. To put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, do you have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Second. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I don't know of anything for executive session, gentlemen. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Would y'all like a report? We are back in the tax office.
Absolutely.
Yay.
I think, Ken and Lynette and I walked through the building last, Friday, I think it was, or Thursday. Anyway, we did a punch list and found a few little minor things, but we knew they were there anyway. I think they came one day this week and went ahead and replaced the windows in the driver's license office that were all out of gas or whatever. So, and I know they've been in there, the plumber, different ones, so I think all the little minor things are being taken care of, and I think they're open for business today down there, so. I know some of you've been in the building, but it looks really nice, I think, so.
I don't think their phones are working.
Yeah, I think they're having trouble with the phones. I talked to a gentleman out front a while ago, and he said he couldn't get a hold of them, but I directed him into the right direction. So anyway, that's a done deal as far as I know.
I'd like
Thank you.
motion, we
Good
adjourn.
There's a motion. Is there a second, Joe? Thank you, sir. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And it is unanimous. All right, we stand adjourned.
No longer being recorded.
He's like a good
Yeah.
guy. We're gonna have to get you